Let's go knight f6, d6, and we want to get e5 in. Wonder if we'll see bishop e3, because knight g4 would be pretty nice, I think. Honestly, on this, I'm definitely considering knight takes d5, but the problem is we drop the c7 pawn at the end. So I'm going to play c6, which is a normal move for us here. But I think that this move also makes this threat finally. But I'm not 100% sure, because pawn takes. He can also take on d6 at the end. Yeah, it's a bit it's a bit messier than we want, actually. It's funny, we really want this to work, so I think we're probably going to stay committed to it, but is probably we're overdoing it at this point. Make the threat. And I think okay, queen there, it's definitely feeling like it may be time, so let's go for it. This idea has been here for he probably, by the way, was pre-moving for pawn takes. So I'm not sure he was expecting this. But anyway, this idea of knight takes d5 has been there for a minute now. Okay, so knight takes e5 is a threat. So if we play bishop back, we're going to get smacked with that. So I think we have to go here. Bishop f6. Getting away from the knight move. Knight e6, knight d4. I think that's where we want to go next. Knight on c5 is great, but it looked like it was going to get booted. And yeah, I kind of feel like closing the d file here if we can. But yeah, that knight takes e5 move is pretty nice. Bishop here, we can actually just take it. G6. And this bishop now will actually do pretty well on f8. It no longer needs to be on f6, so g6 and like bishop g7 or bishop f8, and you can see exactly why right here. We need to lend some support to that pawn. Okay, let's play bishop back. I kind of like g6 as a move. Especially if, well, actually if knight there, we can just play knight d4, but knight on e6 is a really nice piece. Rook b8, I feel like makes some sense. He goes queen there. I think it's time to play a4. Perhaps bishop b5. Again, this knight is so helpful defending the queen. I can see some lines after that where maybe my queen would be loose, but the knight holding it down, truly. Here, we might have to watch out for something like that. So I think now I will just move the bishop. I also consider taking, but we don't need to rush with that, I think. Okay, a banger of a move right there, and he's going to resign. Queen takes h6. Do not underestimate the power of the bishop just chilling on f8. I mean, this guy was a hero, defending everything. Knight on e6 was so well placed as well. And we have an extra pawn, but I was just sort of improving every piece before we eventually do, I don't know, knight c5, knight d4 or something. Yeah, as soon as this pin happens, don't be hasty with this, because there's a lot of reasons why this doesn't work right away. Like, for example, here, this is not ideal. And then here again, not ideal. But as soon as I saw queen c2, I said, okay, now the pawn's gone from c7 for the first problem, and the queen's gone from d1 for the second problem. So now I can finally do it. And yeah, it's a nice tactic to keep in mind. Okay, we'll start with our knight f3 move. Okay, I think we're just going to go ahead and take that bishop right away. That bishop is so annoying, really. Not a piece that you want to deal with. Yeah, we're definitely going to deal with a couple moves threatening our pawn there. I'm thinking that g3 might be needed. h3 is my other consideration, though. I think we are going to go with g3. Mainly because it feels like my dark squares are a little bit too weak in the other situation. Let's go and attack the bishop. Okay, I feel like we just, yeah, attack the bishop again. What else? What else? All right. That's a really weird move, because I feel like there's no follow-up to it, but we're gonna have to deal with something. There's gonna be a few shifty moves here that we need to make sure we handle well. Maybe just knight b2. Trying to figure out what move he's going to do next. Let's just go knight b2 and find out. Knight e5, I guess. Do we go here? No, he's pushing c5. Okay. I think I may just go here. Yes, he's going to be able to take, but I feel like that's pretty good. The king on f2 is very vulnerable to, I feel like, a lot of different moves, but okay, must be push here. Knight g4 here is a nice blunder waiting to happen. Queen c6, dangerous. Bishop d4, or maybe even knight here. I think bishop d4 makes sense. I'm trying to trade just about everything we got. I'm assuming this is quite dangerous, but we'll do it. We ball. We ball. So unfortunately for us, after this, every single one of his pieces, like, they're on light squares. I wish there was something incredibly good there, but I don't see it. So I'm just gonna go rook d4. I'm probably missing something here, but all these moves just don't quite do it for me. Like, damn, where are my threats? Oh, damn, I didn't even see that. Oh, power to our friend here. Yeah, bishop. Oh, no way. He goes here. Does this even... I don't even know. Maybe some kind of bishop e5 check? Super dicey position here. Guess we try this. And then, like, knight d3. That's, I think that's something. We'll retreat Maybe knight f4. Finally getting out of the woods there. Hope for king c7. I mean, I would play queen takes. Kind of crazy. Crazy not to, honestly, at that point. 9 against a minute. Probably not looking too good for the home team here. Can't make that up. Oh, damn, I thought he was going to go to h8 or g8, of course. I think it was going to be too tough to get a win with the time. So at some point I did have to take the pawn or I was actually going to lose. And so we timed it pretty nicely because I was expecting him to shuffle here, which is really tricky. We have the stalemate, but it's kind of reminiscent of something that's been happening recently, which is the double stalemate. It's really unusual, but I was expecting king h8, king g8. I was like, okay, we'll time it well. So we get rook takes g7 when it's a check. But then he went this way, and I don't think we would have got a checkmate out of this because, I don't know, knight takes there, back, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, it's a lot of moves. I think it's a little bit too much. And yeah, at some point I was worried, like, oh, okay, if I try to do things too perfectly, I'm probably not going to take his pawn. So that would be even worse. We could have actually lost that. I have lost so many a game trying to avoid a stalemate, and then, like, you don't clue into the fact that you can actually lose still. So at least we didn't have that moment. Honestly, I mean, what are we talking about here? This is just massive luck. Rook takes a2 is crazy. Can't say that our opponent played that well. Objectively, he probably played the worst out of our last bunch of opponents. Bishop takes f2 is pretty bad. Pretty bad. But we definitely did not react to it, in the best way possible. Here, I felt like completely winning. I felt pretty unlucky about this one. It's like, where's all our good stuff, man? Holy smokes. So I don't know. And this move was nice. This was a really nice idea, but I was expecting him to do this. He didn't even do it. So one way or another, this guy just kind of, kept his stick on the ice and just kept moving. And he played fast too. So his moves were no good at all, which almost feels like undeserved that he had one of the better fights against us. Probably the best in a long time. But he made it happen. This was just luck. At this point, we're a big favorite to lose. So I'll take a draw for sure. 8 seconds. NCPF. Should have had us there. We're going to play d6. Knight f6. Got to play e5 here. And okay, h3. We're not too bothered by h3. Okay, let's go ahead and play a5 as usual. Okay, queen d3. Like, yeah, there's knight c5, but it doesn't really do that much. Let's go here. Once again, we'll go with this. I'm looking at knight h5 as an interesting option. I really like to trade those. And after bishop g3, I'm not going to be able to take that dark square bishop. So I guess I'm wondering if that position is going to be okay for us or not. But Because here, queen e3, yeah, it can be a little annoying. Okay, I'm kind of interested in knight h5 here. Dark square bishop trade is great for us. As usual in this opening, I would love to take that bishop with my knight, but second best would be just exchanging bishops. And wow, he didn't even flinch there. I guess we're supposed to go knight f4. Probably this, although like taking is tempting, but I see he's looking to maybe invade. I'm not too sure. I think I will take just because I don't really know what the follow-up is there, and I don't want to miss the opportunity to take that bishop off the board. Knight here, we can get rid of it. I don't know if it's time for that move again. I think it may be time for this one, honestly. Should be 6. Then I would consider taking that with the pawn, which is, it's got to be just wrong. So basically we need to move this, and it's not clear where we move it because we need to play rook d8. That's the goal. So we'll go queen e7 first. Does bring the knight back. Don't think that's a threat right away. Bring this back. Getting close to this move. I think my next move is going to be probably one of our standard ones. Bishop here. And then maybe bishop back. Okay, we do see this. It's going to be one that we have to take here, and then probably have to take here. And then knight to f4. I think that's just about the only idea we have. He plays a better sequence there. Definitely the right move order. And we're going to have to suffer a little bit here. Takes... Maybe do we throw in this? I can't tell if that's smart or not. Let's go here and throw it in after. Because yeah, knight takes e5, hits f7. So we have to play knight d5 there. Instead, he's going to go here. I think we slide our king over. And if we can trade the queens, we have the knights compared to the bishop, which is nice. And there is g4 coming. So what are we going to do about that? Let's go here. 96 low-key looks like a kind of a very good move. Yikes. That's a painful looking move there. We're gonna play this, and this is one of those positions that I bet I don't know, it doesn't quite work. It doesn't quite work. I bet a move like 96 is almost good there. And knight here runs into bishop f7, by the way. So not a move that we can play. But let's see. I mean, even here, technically, that's available. Okay, I think we've got to do it, though, because there's just no other move that I can see that makes a lot of sense there. Once again, yeah, he finds it this time. That makes sense. Again, we're in this pretty big time deficit that just doesn't feel like it's gonna hold up here. So I suppose this makes the most sense. Okay, and it's just it's just a complete implosion at the end. This is almost reminiscent of kind of brings me back to habits, how you can be lost. I mean, you have to understand queen e6 from him. overall, I would say this is a very smart thing to do. There's probably not many players with 7 seconds that are going to win this position against him. So objectively, very decent move. Like, he's removing the queen from the board and he has an insane time edge. But the habits I'm talking about is actually the end game where you just move your king. Like, your king alone in habits, let's just win the entire game. Like, we brought our king all the way up here and he was moving his knight around like nonstop and we just took every pawn. Let's see where the downfall of this position was. I thought that this was pretty good. Yeah, I was reasonably happy with this, but at this point we had to commit to bishop e6 and I didn't really like this. And both of these moves, I felt like his knight could get in there, which is not an insane concession. Like, knight takes and then just rook d8 is nice and simple. So in hindsight, I think this is the way we should have played, but because knight on e6 is always so good for us here. And if you compare pawn structures, this is the difference. It's that pawn on c6. Covering these two squares means that most endgames are a little bit better for us. So, yep, I think that would be the smart thing to do. Smart money was on just bishop e6, but we kind of refused to do it. And by that point, knight f5 is, yeah, it's hurting. d6. We'll always take our tempo. Bishop d3, we play e5 straight away, but it's basically going to transpose. I think he wants to play this, but he's maybe realizing that knight g4 would be a problem with that, so... knight d2... go h6. Just one of those random moves. He's gonna do the very same. Okay, we'll do our bishop f8 tuck here. Taking opens things up, but we can't quite make a threat there. I'm thinking king h7 here. Knight f5 is kind of the idea. His king's still in the middle, which makes me think of the move d5. I think it's d5. Yeah, d5 should be reasonable, but I'll leave it for now. I think d5 is probably just equal. Like it feels like everything's going to trade there, and the resulting position will just be equal. Okay, so he plays knight f5. I think we're going to go for the rather unusual knight g8 in order to play g6 here. Because I can't play g6 right away, but yeah, this will be helpful. We have everybody on deck supporting. And as soon as the knight goes back, all of a sudden, the pieces that I have in a very strange arrangement can also return to the game. That's a good move because I think that f4 move is happening, which means we sort of need to hop to it here, and I think we're going to go straight away with this. I don't think I can sit there and let these types of moves happen while I reposition because they look pretty menacing. So yeah, let's go with d5. Takes. Does not feel good to open up the bishop on our king, but I think we'll get the dark square bishop in that line. Oof, okay. f4. Well, I think we should take this one. And then next take on e4. Bishop here. I think knight b6 makes the most sense. Okay, if f5, yes, we can take there. I'm almost worried about my queen getting trapped, but I don't think she will. Queen b3. Knight d5. Jeez. We seem to have some good pressure on that knight for the moment. I think I'll play knight d5 with that one. b3. I can't believe you really thought this was about the a-pawn, my guy. Bro. We can't be taking time to guard the a-pawn of all things. We get f5 next. That's what you thought this mission was about? I promise you that was nowhere on my radar. I didn't realize it was hanging. f5 next. Bishop g7, queen b6, and again, we're on move almost 25, and that piece has not moved. Going after this pawn. I know it makes more sense to take, but let's go here. We're going to bring the rook over, and then we're going to play bishop c8, just because that will infuriate Kramnik. There we go. Okay, we're going to bait our pawn hanging. Okay, now we have this. GG. Solid opening. We're getting to the point where people are just playing generally good games, and we don't have the most aggressive system. So I think it's pretty fair to say that you can hit 1700 in this with this opening pretty easily, because from what I've seen up till 1700, people don't really play chess like this. Right, like this guy just went for a very controlled system against this, and you're always going to be slightly better as white. That's just the nature. But pretty much everyone below 1500, they feel some type of compulsion to play like ultra aggressive against this system, and it like overcompensates in a very bad way. But finally, we're starting to get some like more reasonable games where they understand they have a slightly better position. They have the center. It's always going to be slightly better, and they're at least playing it properly. Knight f3. Gonna get castled here. I know b4 looks tempting, but b4, a4, I'm always concerned about a5, I have to say. Even when maybe I shouldn't be. So I usually like to start with the a-pawn, although it obviously gives them an easy response. I still prefer this, I think. Do we tuck this bishop? The pressure here means I can never move my knight after that, so I don't think so, actually. Knight h4. This is reminiscent of the previous game. Let's try it. If at first you don't succeed. Something, something, something. Also, takes knight f5 is a consideration as well. One thing that you have to be very comfortable with and willing to allow, which I have in numerous games this series, is you have to be comfortable allowing them to just double rooks and control the entire d file, and just trust that your pieces will sort of keep the rooks out for the most part. This move really sent our main character here for a think. I'm starting to wonder if he's still here. I'm not sure that he's here. Maybe we'll see rook d2 just out of principle. Okay, there's no way he's thinking this long. There's no way. This is where the time ticks down all the way to the end, and then it's like, you lose. I've had that before. Please don't let it be my time ticking down right now. Refresh my page. Nope. I'm gonna go full alpha here. I believe in myself. I believe in my strong internet connection. Whew. We win on time. Had me sweating there for a sec. It paused on point one. It definitely had me wondering. Okay, let's start with knight f3. Looks like there's going to be no contest here. This is very funny. It's like the guy's like, he's so set up to sack on h3. His only problem is that there's no pawn on h3. Oh, okay. So I'm supposed to play h3, right? That way there'll be something to sack. I feel he's on to something here. He's making the concessions happen. All right, well, I mean, I would normally continue with our tuck procedure, but I'm wondering if there's any relevance to... I mean, I feel bad almost not letting him sacrifice. It's like his whole game plan here is for bishop h3. Guys, I think bishop f1 may have put him out. If he can't sack on h3, then he's not playing. He might have pieced out here. No sack, no play. Yeah, I think honestly, bishop f1 fried him. I did not realize it would be that effective. That's why you got to remember to tuck the bishop. Look how effective it is. We're getting an entire dub here just because we're familiar with bishop f1. Do you think everyone's protesting? Maybe our opponent here, our last opponent, maybe our next one. Are they protesting the chess elites, the evil chess mafia? It certainly feels like it. Man, bishop f1 really put him out. Oof. Sorry, bud. I should have let him take on h3. I feel like a bad sport now. Yeah, this is a average KNVB title Tuesday game. The only problem is our buddy here does not have +1 second increment, nor any desire to complete this match by the looks of it. Dang, another protest win. So you guys just need to do this. Just say, oh yeah, this is a speedrun account. Speedrun account, yeah. There we go. All right, well, on to the next one. Okay. Let's go c3. We want to keep our same setup here. Yeah, so again, knight takes d4. Remember, we kind of talked about this idea. If knight takes d4 now, bishop takes, knight takes e2, queen takes d3. That's a little bit annoying. Let's go here because we make this threat. Feels like he almost has to go there, and then taking should work. So yeah, he decides to take us. Let's go a4. And yeah, we get the bishop pair out of that. I think a5 should be good here. We'll play this. G6, he might fall into this. I can definitely see that. Because I think he's going to want to play f5. So yeah, pretty predictable blunder there. And we'll pick up the material. H3. Sure. Feels like one of those you may as well moments. Like, not going to complain. I like queen d1 because I know that he's not going to go for a queen trade. So he's going to have to go here. And if he's going to keep avoiding the queen trade, you know, we can invade with our queen to d7, which feels pretty nice. Or we could play f4 here. But for some reason, I like queen d7. So we give up this pawn, we get this pawn. You know, we give a lot, we get a lot here. We have to assume that this is a good thing for us. I think just bishop e3. But honestly, we could also just kind of check and push and just send that pawn home. I think that might be the way to do it. Okay, he's going here. He's got a check. He's also got a check here. With this queen guarding h3 and being able to play queen g4, I have to say I feel relatively safe. So I think we just... Like, one thing I could see is this. Rook takes h3 with queen f3, but I have queen takes h3. So I think we can do this, but... Definitely a bit scary. Okay, king's gotta go somewhere. H2 actually looks the safest, but H1 looks like it will maybe get him to play this. And I mean, at that point, it's obvious. Here, knight g3, we're kind of we're doing it to ourselves. So I guess we gotta go here. It's the smart decision. Yeah, he plays it interesting. He plays it anyway, which I thought was interesting. But one of the main differences here is it's not check, so we can just take it. Yeah. GG. This tactic it's been good for a while. I think it's probably the case that this could be just a very nice position for us here, but I didn't want to go into it. Point being, like, the knight takes d4 thing in this opening is a big time tactic. It works very often, but you do have to just double check to make sure you're not dropping a d pawn or not dropping the c2 pawn, because they can recapture in a number of different ways. But knight takes d4 is a good one to look out for. Stopping e4. Okay, well that's a freebie. I think we just go and solidify that. So this is going to be, it's going to look like a little bit of a different position, but yeah, there's not much to say about this one. Knight to g5 looks like the intention here. I guess we'll go here. Knight g5, h6 maybe. Bishop f5, there's knight f6, so we don't think we want to quite do that, but I like this one. I also like queen c6. Actually, queen c6, the reason it's so good is that bishop f5 and then knight f6 is covered. So I feel like this is the way. I sort of wish we could get that move in. Okay, I guess we'll set this up. Has to be this. It's really no other move. We have d3, which could be pretty nice here. In order to get that, we need to dislodge the rook. Once again, not so easy to do. Something like queen g4, queen e6, perhaps. Yeah, queen here, queen h4. He's still not making a threat, but it's definitely threatening to threaten. This move I don't think is threatening something, but I guess we'll just take. Yeah, this looks pretty good here. We finally got rid of like the one problem in the position, that pawn. We have an amazing pawn structure here. Maybe this is the way to do it. Takes, queen h4 should not be enough. That should do it. Just have to be like a little bit careful there. GG. Not much to say, but he's playing way too fast in the opening, and we just get a free pawn, protected pass pawn right off the bat. So, yeah, that's that's pretty much that game. But had he played this, we would have gone for our same setup that we have been doing. Yeah, bishop e7, c6, queen c7, castles. Oftentimes they go here, and always be on the lookout for knight d5 tactics. That's pretty much the summary of those. Okay, here we go. So this one black just goes for the full offensive idea. I'm gonna go a3, and if they go a5, then maybe a4. Let's get h3 in. Seems like a rather useful move. Always gonna count on me to attack a bishop, and yeah, of course he's well aware that you can't just leave a bishop there, or sorry, leave a knight on g5. Taking that bishop's way too strong. So I think let's actually go back. And now bishop e6, I think d4. And d4 will be a decent move. Always with the pawn, have to maintain that. This is uncomfortable, so I think I do want to move this. He goes bishop e6, and now d4 is a little less desirable because maybe knight b4 is there. So it feels like we are much more likely to play another move here. So let's go ahead and do it. Knight c4. It can be taken, but that pawn on c3, I'm hoping it's going to be a hero here. Let's go bishop d2. Knight e5 we're taking. And then I'm playing rook here and rook b5. This is the whole point, I think, of what we're up to, is that our opponent should never really want to take it. So it allows us to just control the entire B file. So we'll do that. Queen d7. I think rook to b1 here is a no-brainer. There's also f4. Yes, this pawn is hanging, but I don't know. Maybe I should be taking that pawn. It feels to me like a move like this is tougher to meet. Also, f4 is a threat now. Wins the game. Like if he plays rook b8, I think this is game over. There's no squares, so okay. He does make a move that fulfills that. f4 now there is knight c4, which is a pretty good move. Okay, I'm gonna go here, knight c4 and bishop c1. Doesn't look too logical. Can't really move this. I wonder if this makes sense. I really don't want to let him blockade there, so I'm going to push. But I'm disconnecting my pawn from a4 to the pawn on b7, so probably not smart overall. Damn. Are we taking that? Kind of wish we had something a little better to play. Okay, so yeah, e6. I guess bishop needs to go here. I mean, e6 is super forced. Yeah, gotta play e6. The knight's going to improve. We can play c4 here. There is a bishop e8 move that I want to do. This could be very helpful for us. We'll see. 4 seconds in a dream. GG. Make it happen under the gun once again. Getting close. This game was another nice one here. Nice one by my opponent, I mean, in terms of the opening we got, and just it's a type of game that you're probably going to get a decent amount. But notice how this guy kind of understands the difference. He's kind of playing like a Sicilian here, but he's not just giving away the light squared bishop. He's holding on to it as he should, and then he's just kind of expanding over here. So maybe I wish we played a4 a little bit earlier, but it would have been similar because he would play rook b8 and eventually get the pawns going like that. But still, this is a game where I probably would play an earlier a4. Because against this setup, you kind of have to play an early a4 or an early d4. Because if he's not going to take the center and he's going to play on the side like that, it makes sense that you should play in the middle. Good habits. All right, we're playing Jim. Is it bothering anyone that the J and the I do not have their dots aligned perfectly laterally? Okay, let's go for c6. a4, a5, very typical reaction. So a lot of times our opponents, you know, when they play a4, they play rook e1, like they're kind of going for the same ideas that we are, but the reason that we have the better side is we have the pawn on c6 and they have the knight on c3. Literally, it's like it's just a carbon copy opening, but had white played knight d2 c3, it would have been much, much better. As always, would love to trade dark square bishops. Let's see if we can make it happen. Take, queen b6. Almost all trades are good because we've just got this huge advantage, knight against c6 pawn. I know it doesn't feel like much, but... Okay, I think we want to reposition the knight to c5. Terrible knight on b6 there. Not really doing much. Bishop c4, I think we'll play h6. Okay, so knight there is a move we really are not interested in dealing with. If he plays bishop here, I think we're going to bring the bishop back. We don't really want to trade. We'll probably repeat a few times just to see what he's doing. Okay, he decides to go with the knight. We'll definitely take. And let's see if we can make use of the dark squares here. Great knight. Dark square pawn's keeping it there. Pawn keeping all the pieces out. Looking great so far. Let's see if we can execute our dark square concept here. This may be tempting for him. Yeah, so he does do that, but I think that's more what we want from the position. I think we'll put the knight on e5 here. b5 looks good. We want to make sure keep these pawns on dark squares. H5. We also have a4 to create a pass pawn. Let's see what we can do over here. Okay, we play b4 now. Could also try, like I said, we could try a4, but I don't know if I trust that one as much. I kind of like b4, sticking to the dark square strategy. He's gonna take, I think. Pawn takes or just king takes and like that. At this point, everything looks like it would win. Let's go here. And this one, even though he has a few random moves like that, they will all lose the king and pawn endgame, so. We can just bring the knight to d4. He's probably going to blunder his bishop with king f3. He doesn't. Wow. Credit to him at the very end, not blundering the bishop. I thought it was all but guaranteed, but still. This is kind of the dream from our opening. If you trade dark squared bishops, you do not want to trade light squared bishops. This knight move looked a bit annoying. Honestly, I didn't see much better than just some sort of repetition here. I would have played something different, but I wouldn't have been happy to allow the knight there. But this is ideal. Knight on c5, pawns keeping it there. Pawn here, keeping the pieces out and stopping like rook d5 or anything, and then just bring the king in, trade rooks, trade knights if we can, and play knight against bishop with all these light square pawns, which are just terrible. That's the dream. Knight f3. We're gonna get our e4 move in. Okay, takes. We're gonna definitely play c3, I think, here. Honestly, queen b3 might be the move. I've had a lot of success just playing queen b3 to attack this pawn. We're at 1900, so definitely at an elo here where bad things should not continuously be happening. Here, takes, knight takes e4. There is knight e5. feel like it looks like there's some good things there. Yeah, because normally I would just play bishop e2, but I have a feeling that we could make something happen. So yes, we give up this pawn, but as I said, hoping that we can make something work here. Very risky. I might be missing something. I'm not too sure. He goes knight there. This I was not overly concerned about because I thought at the very least we get this. And now just move this queen. And we can sort of save the bishop, castle. We have the two bishops, and the king can't castle. So this has to be an achievement from the opening. There's f6. I don't know that he wants to play f6, actually. And if he just plays this and castles, I feel like he's very happy there. So he's about to go here, and then king back. Let's do it. Because, yeah, I think black would rather the pawn on f7. In a perfect world, we can castle. I actually realized we can castle this way. It's very risky. Rook a6 is also a really strange looking move. Honestly, you might miss this. We'll see. Yeah. It's just going to be a free rook for us. But I was making some threats on the e6 pawn, so he got a bit nervous. But yeah, the rook on a6 was never gonna work out. Bishop c5 next. Okay, I think we made the right call to activate the queen a little bit more. Yeah, any of this bishop out to g4 stuff with knight c6, I think queen b3 has been very effective. Lower rated guys, they always play this, and literally the game ends immediately. Just like pile on that knight, game over. I've had so many wins like that in the speedrun, but obviously not in a while. We're up to a bit of a higher elo here. But the early pressure that we put on just gave us a fantastic position. So bishop g4 with knight c6. I would almost always poke and prod with the queen on the queen side there. Henry the bishop. Always attack the pawn there. I think I can play this just because there's no queen trade now. Okay, he goes here. Obviously we can take. That's not really... Yeah, I'm going to go c6, I think. It's not really the purpose. Can play queen c7, and we're going to castle. I can definitely see some knight f3, queen c5 played. Doesn't quite lose the bishop due to queen d4, but definitely not good. I think queen e1 is most definitely the move. How do we want to continue? I think maybe with c5. Let's go here and then c5. Try to play c4. Again, I think he made a good decision. We can try knight g4, but there is there is e6, which looks quite convincing. And c4 might be a little bit too messy. Okay, maybe this is not a good position. Yeah, because knight here, e6 is no good, so I think I have to take. After takes, I was thinking about c4, and wow, he goes back. I thought that taking a knight f3 was the way to go for him. But I guess I see what he's doing. He wants to take and play knight f3 without losing the pawn, obviously. Try to play bishop c5 check. He's got knight f3, so pieces are definitely coming alive for white. h3 would be... actually, taking it. I don't even know if that works, actually. Never mind. Yep, e7 if the bishop recaptures on f6 makes more sense. Otherwise, c7 is the only useful square. But any position with f4 and d4, you need queen c7 because you got to defend the e-pawn. It's mandatory. I guess we're gonna go here. This doesn't threaten mate, which is a good thing. Yeah, it's a good move. Trying to get in the way of this, but I like my opponent's position. h3, probably bring something to e8. Wow, that is quite the move. I guess, yeah, I guess it does do the trick. Let's try this. It seems to be the most interesting continuation. Quite the position here. God dang. There's only one move playable here. Happens to be an amazing move. I think what we should have done is take on g2 first and then pick up the material like that. So I don't know why he's blanking on this one. He has it. Just bishop e4. Dang, he really tanked his entire time on that one move. Poor Henry. This game got spicy real quick. I feel like a lot of time when I see move like that, I should probably be taking one of these things. But remember, in general, we don't take this. If we take anything, it's usually this one. Interesting would be d5 here. Because takes, we get such a beautiful position, and white no longer has any attack. So, wow, that would have been very strong, actually. Although it is definitely unusual to see this exact position with knight d2, bishop c4. So maybe not entirely useful, but it would have been a very good move there. We start with knight f3. Okay, we've seen this kind of position before. Now, I wonder about this. It's possible after bishop there that it's no good. So maybe I'll take and then push. Queen c7, queen a4. And in the meantime, maybe reroute the knight. H3 is a move I should probably have already. Yeah, definitely going to threaten that. He's going to go bishop e6. But after bishop e6, we can just take it. Like, knight c4 anyway. Take, and I like our game there. Bishop is very much going to be doing its duty from f1 here. Can almost predict that. And then this bishop, I think it's already doing the most that it possibly can from c1. Like, I don't even have to develop this. The two bishops on their starting squares, I think, are probably going to be as good as they get. I am threatening a6 here, so he may play some move to defend it. Maybe queen a2. Knight may be coming here. Mild problems. I like our bishops. I definitely want to play g3. It works as an escape square and also helps my bishop use h3. Whoa, what a decision. Okay, I guess I'll take. Okay, I think I'll put this rook on c2. Bishops are still on their starting squares. Bishop e2 definitely looks useful because maybe bishop d1. Yeah, I'm liking bishop d1 and bishop a4. Like, the knight on c6 is holding everything, I understand, but we can make something happen. Almost f4 time. It's almost f4 time. So now that this pawn's defended, we can develop the bishop maybe to e1, so it watches c3. This is our plan finally being executed. The bishop is finally developing. And now this king would probably do the best on e2, where it's kind of defending everything. We get bishop c4, and I think we want to reroute the king. Once the king's on c2, it frees like both pieces from having to defend any of these pawns. After rook b6, I don't see a particular knockout unless b4 is working, and knight c3 kind of tells me that it's not. So let's just go here. Maybe time to throw that in. Let's defend. Almost time to take this. In fact, I almost want to sacrifice for that one, but let's go f3, g4. There's not much to say about this game, is there? I mean, it's just this is a technique fest. I can't say that Black's position looked too good after this, but still, you just kind of play a5 and you just hold everything, and it's not easy to do. So I feel like, considering that he held everything, that was pretty well done. I still think we were making tons and tons of progress, but even when we made progress, I felt like he was right there with another idea, like rook f8. So yeah, I never felt like we completely made it through. And then at the end, it's just time scramble. Not a bad game at all from Matthew. Still happy to not only take the bishop pair, but then take both bishops. So 2 bishops against 2 knights. Tough to play, but I think the hardest part about this game for white is realizing that both bishops are pretty much perfect on their starting squares, and it's mainly about moving pawns, like your king even, trading queens, moving rooks in a funny way. Way too much to explain. You know, that's not... Technique like that is not really something that you can just be like, oh yeah, just move the pieces like this. But all I can say is we maintain our comfortable level with bishop on c1 and f1. Those are going to be staples. Ooh, we're going to be playing a 2000 here. I notice a lot of people play d5. Kind of considering knight c5 here, but we'll hold off. Keep our moves relatively normal for this position. Let's try a weird plan. Trading the dark square bishop. I don't know how successful that's going to be, or whether it's any good. Maybe king f2. Okay, it ended up kind of working. It's a very similar position to the one we had last game, except there's no A pawn, right? It's basically the same.
Activate.
We have an escape square. Let's definitely take that. Replace the knight. Knight on c5 is just so good. Can't say no. There you go. It's a 2000. We were in hotter water against other players. GG. $1,900. We made it at last. Getting up there, but definitely in this last 100, I thought people started to play some more topical openings. Here, White's position is just great. So I noticed for sure, like the opening is still effective and you can still use it very well above this, but I wouldn't say it makes too much sense as your main weapon, because when the players get good enough, you're just going to be in a position that's just a little passive for no reason. But up to 1700, it's passive, but the players don't play their normal chess. They almost try to punish you, or they overextend, or they blunder the same tactics. But definitely I noticed after 1800, people started playing still their normal good stuff. And okay, it's not a big problem. It's Blitz. You can always win any game. It's kind of like playing the French or the Benoni. You're just slightly worse from the start, and there are better evals to have out there. But I still think it's a great weapon. Probably not as a primary weapon past 2000. You would want to have something else in your Rolodex, but I still think this is a good one to know. One of those things that I would bust out once in a while at a higher level. Just catch people off guard. It's a helpful system to know how to play. And these structures are useful because even in a King's Indian, you might be having this structure. So there's a lot of use cases. Thank you for making it to the end of this episode of the Philidor Speedrun. This opening has been super successful for me, and I hope you guys are experiencing the same elo boost. As always, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and turn on post notifications so you do not miss our next upload. I'll see you guys in the next one.